Recognize Mr. Clyde for his 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Chairman Krishnamurthy and Ranking Member Clyde. I feel obligated to begin by stating the obvious this afternoon. Today's hearing is a colossal waste of time and resources. Out of all the economic concerns keeping the American people up at night, namely 40-year high inflation, and more inflation, I'm afraid flea and tick collars just don't quite make the cut. Yet here we are at the very first Economic and Consumer Policy Subcommittee hearing of 2022 to examine Seresto flea and tick collars. I mean, seriously? What comfort or assistance does this hearing render to families of Georgia's 9th District struggling to make ends meet? What information does this hearing provide to small businesses in my district that are battling rising costs, supply chain disruptions, and labor shortages? What assistance does this hearing offer to Northeast Georgians living paycheck to paycheck just to put people food on the table, or dog food in the dog bowl? Have you seen the price of dog food lately? Rising inflation is driving it higher and higher. You know, my Doberman pincer is on the Hill today, and I was going to have her join us if the topic was about the price of dog food, because, you know, she works for food. But it's not. It's about flea and tick collars. So I thought I would share a few pictures of her instead. So if you would roll the first picture. The first one, this picture was taken a few years ago. Here we go. When the price of dog food was reasonable. And if you'd roll the second picture. This picture was taken a few months ago when the price of dog food began to greatly increase. And then the third picture was taken today, if you'll change that, thank you. The third picture was taken today after we realized that the focus of this hearing was not going to be about inflationary pressures on dog food, but it was going to be on flea and tick collars. As you can see, she is not happy with the ever-increasing price of dog food, dog bones, and dog treats. Thank you. But Democrats have managed to bury their heads in the sand for over a year as President Biden's disastrous agenda, failed economic policies, destroy the lives of middle-class Americans. The American people just don't have the luxury of living in the left's utopian fantasy because consumers are burdened with the inescapable reality of skyrocketing inflation and record-high gas prices every solitary day. After more than a year of excuses, lies, and deception, Americans recognize the truth that President Biden, with the help of congressional Democrats, ignited inflation by injecting trillions of dollars into the economy. Despite month after month of sticker shock and price pains, Democrats have continued to carelessly balloon our national debt, which is now over $31 trillion, and have naively ignored the Jimmy Carter-era levels of inflation. Instead of holding ridiculous, nonsensical hearings that provide absolutely no help to American workers and families struggling to put food on the table, fill their gas tanks, and purchase common goods, this subcommittee must do its job and hold legitimate hearings on the real economic issues at hand so we can discuss effective solutions to get our country back on track. You know, I'm not going to be holding my breath because my Democrat colleagues conveniently take cover every time President Biden's self-inflicted crises damage our country. Yes, today's hearing is a massive waste of time, but it is also evidence of a desperate distraction to fill the empty void of leadership, allowing Democrats to avoid their legitimate responsibility of conducting proper oversight over the Biden administration. Make no mistake, the American people deserve better. They deserve real issue hearings, and they deserve it now. I have a question, Ms. Sheffield. Thank you for being here in person today. In your testimony, I believe that you mentioned pet food prices are increasing at a rate greater than the reported 40-year high rate of inflation. I think you mentioned over 9%, where the inflation rate is just over 8%. So what does your experience and research show is happening to American families due to the increasing prices of pet food?
Well, certainly we are seeing reports that some animals sadly are being abandoned, and some animals are being taken to shelters because families have to choose between feeding their children and feeding their dogs or their cats or other pets. And I think that in this developed country, a first world country, this should never be an issue. We should never have gotten to this point. And this hearing, I find very puzzling why there is no one from the actual agency in question, the EPA, present.
Thank you. Thank you for that, and I agree with your assessment. With that, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Clyde. Thanks for sharing the pictures of your dog, too.